said, I want to introduce our host and panelist, Matt Gallagher. He is a partner and head of business development at TrinityPoint Wealth. With over 25 years of marketing and sales experience, Matt plays an essential role in the firm's growth and evolution as head of business development. His responsibilities include identifying and connecting the firm with potential new business opportunities, starting a dialogue with prospective clients, communicating to them the firm's unique capabilities, expertise, and solutions, and then cultivating those relationships on an ongoing basis. So I do thank you, Matt, for being here today, and I hand it over to you. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, and thanks to BRBC for making us part of this event. We're always happy to be part of your organization. It's a great organization. Again, it's Matt Gallagher from TrinityPoint Wealth. I'll just give a very brief overview. TrinityPoint Wealth, we're a registered investment advisor based in Milford, specializing in wealth management and financial planning. We basically have three areas of expertise, serving individuals and families, defined benefit plans such as municipal pensions, and also defined contribution plans such as 401ks, 457 plans, 403b plans. Today I'm joined with two of our associates, Brad Hartman from Puzzle HR and Joe Mango from World Insurance. Our topic today is just the HR trends that we see out there and really how employers are adapting their HR strategy and benefits to meet today's challenges and opportunities. Obviously, we're all adjusting to life with COVID, but I think we're going to present some very good ideas and insights as to how our clients are adapting to this climate. So we're going to start with Brad Hartman, kind of going through his HR strategies, et cetera. So Brad, please proceed.
Great, thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. As Matt said, I'm with Puzzle HR. We are a national HR outsourcing organization. I have been personally in the HR industry for over 30 years here in Connecticut, from outsourcing HR to PEO to having my own business in recruiting. So I'm going to cover three main areas today. I'll try and get through them pretty quickly, or as quickly as possible, but really three main areas that are going to be critical to organizations to be successful in 2020 and beyond. The first really is managing remote employees. Obviously, that's hit everybody a lot, and a lot of these employees, it's new for them. So we'll talk about some best practices there. We'll talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion strategies on how that is affecting business and why it's important. And then ultimately the employee engagement and retention, how those feed in, so help businesses continue to grow. Obviously, you know, the pandemic caused by COVID-19, social unrest, rallies, protests, and we're in the middle of an election year, has put a lot of businesses, business owners, managers, and employees in unprecedented situations. Starting with the businesses being shut down and employees being suddenly thrust into work from home, things that they're not used to. Managers and owners are no different, so it's new for us as well. And it's hard to understand what that job was, how they should manage those people, so and how to keep teams productive and engaged. So from a distance. So we'll talk about 10 best practices. The first really is technology. Whether you like technology, I'm a little bit older guy. My kids love technology. I'm kind of in between, but it has to be your friend now. There's no way around it. You have to adjust your normal ways of communicating is probably going to be the biggest challenges for business. So utilizing productivity tools, messaging, video conferencing like this, collaboration, even things like how you're sharing files, and keeping real-time collaboration going as possible. So define the tool. Companies need to define the tools that they're going to use for each purpose, and then find that happy medium. It will probably take some experimenting. We at Puzzle, like I said, we're a national company. We started out as a virtual company pre-COVID. we have our technology in place for Zoom, Teams, SharePoint, all these different technologies. Over the last 6 months, things have changed. We've evolved, and we've changed the technology we're using for certain things like sharing files and collaboration, because things have evolved so quickly. So the biggest thing with technology is, one, you have to jump into it. Two is you have to be adaptable and utilize it. Every company is going to be a little bit different. The second real key we see for helping to manage remote employees is have an open door policy. Loneliness is probably some of the biggest problems that are going to come up with employees. Just being at home, especially if they're used to being in an office or being around people on a regular basis, they're going to need some of that. So have that open door policy. Another area we found that has worked really well for us is encouraging them to get in contact with each other. So if you have people on a team, maybe set up a mentorship program or collaboration program between a couple people, so they have another resource besides their manager or the business owner. The third really is have regular meetings. So put a little bit of normalcy back in, have a Skype meeting, Google Hangout, however you want to do that, a Zoom call. We found that touching base really helps everyone remain cohesive and provides a sense of normalcy for them. Pre-COVID, and Matt can attest to this, I hated our weekly meetings, but now I actually look forward to them. With that said, you need to make sure the meetings are organized, they're productive, and they're relevant to your team. Having a meeting just to have a meeting is still a waste of time, even if it's on a Skype or a Zoom. The fourth area really is setting expectations. With all the changes, one of the best things we can do for our teams is to really outline what those expectations are from the get-go. Team members don't working from home, their jobs may have changed a little bit, so intuitively they don't understand how to succeed in those roles. So prioritize tasks, outline standards, and set some deadlines. Even your best employees are in a new scenario. So what was easy for them before is not. So they will even need guidance in this. The fifth really is monitoring metrics, right? Business still needs to go on. We still need to meet the organization's goals, even with all the things that are going on around us. So set up your KPIs. They might be different, a little bit different than they were prior, and be able to monitor them. Be careful not to overdo it, because metric overload will be productive at times. So set your KPIs that you can manage remotely, and then don't focus on the number of hours people are doing it, but what that productivity is. So understand your KPIs and keep adjusting that as you go through it. As we get to the next step, number 6 is really providing that feedback. People are at home, they're alone, they're doing their thing. Make sure you're giving them feedback. This is probably more a crucial time than any to be that coach and that mentor for those people, and make sure that you're praising what they're doing great. You're providing constructive criticism as they're going forward with areas that they need improvement. Generally, employees are happier when they get routine feedback. Number 7, kind of a boring one for everybody, but remember compliance, right? At some point, somebody may have a cat or a dog or a kid fly through the screen here. So things have gotten a little bit more lax, but you need to ensure that your remote processes comply with federal, state, and local labor laws. You are still the employer, you still have some liability around that. Number 8 is avoid micromanaging. There's so much data now, especially for large organizations, Salesforce, different types of things. You can look at numbers and try to assume what people are doing, but you really shouldn't be looking over people's shoulders like that. It's going to almost design an environment of mistrust, and you'll probably lose some people's morale on that. And right now is when you need them to be focused and have their morale the highest, driving forward. Like we talked about before, it's a different environment. Members of your team might not understand know how to manage things perfectly, or they might be more productive in different times of the day. So as you're managing them, don't over micromanage. If they're, look at what they're producing, not the hours they're working, unless obviously it's an employee who's an hourly employee and you have to pay them overtime or watch out for things around there. The ninth thing really is ensure efficiency. So experiment with the different tools. We talked about the technology. Um, as time goes on, as people get more comfortable, those strategies will become more effective. But make sure you're monitoring them on an ongoing basis and ensuring that the efficiency is there. If it's not, make the change. And the last one is keep employees motivated. Um, a lot of the things I just talked about will help kind of put some structure around that. But really keeping them motivated, because they'll also have a little bit more direction, more autonomy, and a little bit of structure to help them really stay focused on those things. And look for different ways to be creative to motivate them or reward them. We've had some lunch and learns where we didn't know it was coming, but all of a sudden there was pizzas delivered to everybody's house right before the call. So it changes the mood, it puts everybody in a good mood, and it's little things like that to try and make it, the culture and the environment stay together. So that's really it on key points for managing remote employees. There's obviously, we could go on for hours with it, but to kick into a little bit of the diversity and inclusion and why this has been a growing topic over the years. The last couple of months, there's obviously been a spotlight put on it with all the social unrest and everything else going on today. Diversity and inclusion and also equality have hit us on both on a personal level perspective, but also from a business perspective. And one of the things companies are asking, well, why does having a D&I strategy matter for a business? So two key things. First, it's the right thing to do. It's not a political statement, anything like that. It's just the right thing to do ethically for any business or any person. It helps the business, it helps the community. Number two, it supports creativity and innovation. SHRM, the Society of Human Resources, put out a study that shows that companies that are more gender and ethically diverse outperform their peers. So the more creativity, the diverse your group, the better your business is going to perform. Number three, it increases your hiring flexibility. Obviously, you're now looking at a larger group of people you can target. Glassdoor put out a study that showed 67% of job seekers want a company with a diverse workforce, and then 50% of the company's employees want a more diverse work environment. So 1 out of 2 of you people in your company want a more diverse work environment, which leads to kind of the fourth point is having a diversity and inclusion plan and a strategy behind it helps reduce turnover within a business, which ultimately leads to bottom line profitability. And the last one really is it improves the company's financial performance. Fast Company put out a research showing that organizations with above average gender diversity and levels of engagement outperform companies with lower than average in diversity and employee engagement by 46 to 58%. So we have the same company we're running, you're a little bit more diverse, you're 40 to 60% more productive than I am going to be if I don't have those strategies in place. So, when I look at it, what is diversity, what is inclusion, what's equity? Diversity, in its sense, is the presence of differences in a given setting. Inclusion is people with different identities feeling and or being valued and welcomed within a given setting. And equity ensures everyone has the same or access to the same opportunities. Our president did a webinar on this a week or two ago, and he broke it out, I found, in a little bit more common way. He said, listen, Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And then equity is being able to dance like no one's watching. So that one hit home a little bit more for me, just from understanding it. But diversity and inclusion in any business setting, you know, you need to have a strategy with this though, and it should be the core of your business strategy. It's not checking a box. If you're just doing it to say, I have one, don't bother, you're better off not doing it. It really needs to be ingrained into the culture, which leads the, you know, culture of the business, which ultimately will lead to the help with the employee engagement and retention of your employees. Your company's going to develop a culture, and it's going to have a direct impact on retaining your employees, employee engagement, and the success of your business. And the culture is either going to happen one way or the other. So either you're going to let it happen, or you're going to put processes in place to drive the organization's culture through a systems of programs, policies, and procedures that are aligned with your company's mission, your vision, and the values. Some examples of those could be performance reviews, proactive performance reviews, not just dollar signs and for money, but developing your employees, having job descriptions. Many of your job descriptions may have changed over the last 6 months. Tying that to career development or employee development, having a robust benefit package in place to help recruit and retain the best talent. You want to be the employer of choice. If an employee is developing themselves, they're achieving their goals, and they're building a new set of skills for themselves and their career, they're going to be more engaged in their role. They're going to be more motivated to succeed, and they're also going to have better morale and go the extra mile for your company. So implementing best practices, having a D&I strategy, offering the best benefits possible will help lead to better employee engagement and retention of your employees. It'll creating a better work environment that people want to be a part of. And ultimately that's the goal. We want people to want to work for us. And ultimately, if you're doing those things, it's going to make your business more productive and more profitable. So I just went through a lot. If you have questions, I'm happy to address them. At this point, I'll hand it over to Joe Mango from World Insurance to talk about, you know, exploring some of the healthcare options for your business.
Hey Brad, I do have a quick question right before Joe. Liz asked if you will be able, do you have a handout for the 10 trends, or is there a way for her to get more information on that?
Yeah, I can, if you want to put your email in chat, I can send it out to everybody, or if you want to shoot me the thing, I have a one-pager I can send on that as well.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Access to our resource page, which has some other information as well.
Great, okay, thank you. And Joe, your turn.
My name's Joe Mango. I work for World Insurance, and I'd like to thank you all for taking time to listen to what we have to say today. I have about 35 years experience in employee benefits, so you do the math, I'm the oldest one in the group here. What I wanted to talk to you about briefly, is a product that's been around maybe 3 years, 4 years. It was developed by Aetna was one of the first carriers to come out with it. Then Anthem has it, United has it, Connecticut has it. It's you'll hear the term level funding, balanced funding, alternative funding, and what it does, it gives the small employer an opportunity to participate in a type of self-funding with no risk. And I know that sounds too good to be true, but there really is no risk into this plan, and I'll go over it. To begin with, in the state of Connecticut, all the carriers that offer this product offer it down to groups that have 5 employees enrolled into their medical plan. The plan is medically underwritten. Your employees that participate do have to fill out a family health statement. They don't have to get a physical, they don't have to have blood work or anything like that like you do for life insurance. This is just a family health statement that they would list, answer questions of any health issues that they've had over the last 5 years, I believe, for themselves and the dependents that they are covering under their plan. The carriers then look at those applications and they'll decide a couple of things. First of all, they'll decide if they want to take the group or not, and they don't have to. They could look at the risk and say it's not financially feasible for us to take this group due to the medical conditions, and they won't take it. They could look at the family health statements, and then they could decide, well, yes, we will take this group, and here's the rates. So then they present you with the rates. The good thing is when you apply to this, and this is the way my office works, is we will have you fill out one family health statement and submit that family health statement to all the carriers that do offer this product. So if we're going to go to Anthem, Aetna, and Connecticut, you don't have to fill out 3 different family health statements. You just have to fill out one. Most cases, if the group is accepted into this type of plan, the rates are much better than what you would get under a normal fully funded street rate that Anthem, Aetna, well, not Aetna, I'll explain that in a minute, but Anthem or United do put out there for regular fully insured groups. This will be a lower rate. The second good thing about this is there is an opportunity for you at the end of your plan year to participate in a refund from these carriers. So I'll make it really simple. If you paid the carrier $100,000 in premium over your 12-month period, after the 12 months, they figure out your claims. If you had $50,000 in claims, you would then split that money, that $50,000 difference, with the carrier. And I believe Anthem is a 60-40 split, and Aetna is a 50-50 split. So that's money that would be credited to your account to pay for your next year's premiums. So now you'll probably ask, but what if I have a terrible year? If you have you pay $100,000 in premium and you have $150,000 in claims, you'll pay no more than the $100,000 that you've paid. And that's what I said earlier on, that there is no risk. They will charge you no more than what you paid in premium for that 12-month period. Your next renewal may not be very good. They may not put you into that plan again, but you're no worse than you would have been if you stayed fully funded in the traditional fully insured market. The plans that are available through all these carriers are the same plans that are available under the fully insured traditional street products. The networks that they use are their traditional Blue Cross network, Anthem network, United network. So everything remains the same. Your billing is pretty much the same. You'll get a rate for a single person, a 2-person rate, a family rate, and you pay that monthly premium based on the number of employees you have in each category. So you'll pay the same premium each month unless you have add an employee or delete an employee from your invoice. So it's really that. It's not a complicated product. It's a very good product. I've had much success with it. 80% of the groups that get accepted into this do get money back. But remember, it's fully underwritten. It's medically underwritten, so they're taking the good groups and they know the risk. So you do have a good opportunity to get money back. And even if you don't, the rates that they give you are better than what you can get fully funded. Questions? Either I'm real good at it or everybody went to sleep.
No. Well, obviously, business owners, the cost of health insurance is something they dwell on all the time. So I think it's a good topic. Okay, Kate, I'm going to move on. Okay.
Sounds good.
In terms of my topic, it's fairly straightforward, and it's really dealing with how employers are kind of adapting or optimizing their retirement plans, okay? In many instances, employers, also known as plan sponsors, when you sponsor this type of benefit, they have varying goals, and sometimes they have changing goals for the retirement plan. It can be something as simple as they want to offer a benefit so they can recruit and retain employees. Other times it is they want to maximize the contribution and tax advantage for themselves as the employer. Other times they're just looking to make sure they're in complete compliance with ever-changing laws relating to these plans. So really, any employer offering this type of benefit should really do some kind of periodic review of their plan document, of their plan design, to make sure that the plan design is aligned with their goals, all right? And some of these things I'm going to point out are fairly basic, and people may know of them, but it's still something to consider. Obviously, one of the first things are a lot of small businesses will utilize a safe harbor iteration for their 401k plan. All that means is under a safe harbor, an employer would offer a defined either match or contribution in order to avoid compliance issues and allow the owners or the highly compensated employees to fully participate in the plan. I think what employers don't always realize is there's various iterations of safe harbor, and you really should review how you can match up your particular demographic of employees with the type of safe harbor. But again, it can be a way to really allow more people to more fully participate in the plan. The other thing is every 401k or defined contribution plan has a profit sharing option. Many employees don't really consider this because they view it as being too onerous, too expensive. The IRS allows 4 different types of profit sharing formulas. You should always look to align the demographics in your company with the proper profit sharing formula. Again, we get a lot of pushback where employers say, I don't want that expense, but we view it differently. We think if your plan is set up properly, your fiscal year ends, you should run an allocation and at that point make a determination of whether to fund the profit sharing or not, rather than ahead of time, right? Because your situation is going to change. Any profit sharing is completely discretionary, so on a year-to-year basis. So you should always be aware of what your options are. If you have a particularly good year, your accountant tells you you have a certain tax exposure, this can be a way to lower your tax bill. In many instances, we tell employers, if the amount you would have to fund to your employees is equal to or greater than that, what you would save in taxes, it's almost as if you're giving the employees the benefit as opposed to just paying a higher tax bill, right? And actually, if employers, if they're in the right situation and they want to kind of supercharge their retirement saving and tax advantage, you can also tack on a cash balance plan, which allows you to put potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars more in than you would under a 401k plan. The other goal of a lot of these plans are participation rates. So again, within the plan document, you can set it up where employees utilize auto-enrollment, auto-deferral increase, re-enrollment. This is just a use of behavioral economics, where you're putting the onus on participants to opt out as opposed to opt in. And it works extremely well, all right? So it'll help you help them make the right choices. And depending on the type of plan you have, it can also help you with any kind of compliance issues. All right? A couple of other kind of basic things. Roth deferrals. We still see a lot of plans that don't have Roth options where participants can save on a post-tax basis versus pre-tax. Particularly for younger employees, it can be a much better situation where they take a little bit greater hit now in terms of their take-home, but then they have no tax event when they retire and look to take the money out. Also, a lot of plans use a type of stretch match, where rather than having, say, a match of 100% on the first 3%, you would say, we'll match 50% on the first 6, because you're trying to motivate participants, employees, to do the right thing, but obviously do a better job of preparing for retirement. All right?
I actually have a quick question. You
Sure.
mentioned compliance issues with the opt-in. What is that?
Yes.
What does that refer to?
Okay. In the most basic sense, a plan, these types of defined contribution plans cannot be solely for the benefit of the owners or the highly compensated employees. So typically plans go through testing, and basically the highly compensated and the owners are limited on their level of participation based upon the level of participation of the non-highly comped or rank and file employees, all right? So by utilizing auto enrollment, you're actually doing right by them, encouraging them, prodding them, nudging them into the plan, but it can also assist you with passing potential compliance concerns. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Under the same topic, okay, more and more employees ask us about driving participation rates. It used to be that an employer would look at their plan and their biggest concerns were the fees, the fund performance, and really their own fiduciary responsibility and liability. But more and more employees, they have an expectation that the plan really should be serving their clients, and they want to see higher participation rates, higher savings rates. All right? And again, there are certain ways you can do it via, as we talked about, putting in the options of auto enrollment, auto deferral increase, wherein participants automatically, unless they opt out, their amount they're saving increases every year, and re-enrollment. If people have turned it down in the past, on the calendar year or whatever date you pick, you just re-enroll them. You're putting the onus on them. In 2017, Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize in Economics related to behavioral economics. And his nudge theory is all about nudging people to do the right thing. It's in their best interest, it's in the employer's best interest, but again, you can set the plans up in that manner. Also, we have plan sponsors who actually put the onus on us to meet and proactively enroll people. We'll actually produce lists of people not participating and go and meet with them. And the last concept that's become more and more relevant is the whole concept of retirement readiness, okay? You can get people to enroll in the plan, all right? And they understand if I put in X, my employer will give a match, et cetera. But with defined contribution plans, participants don't always make the connection about retirement readiness, about how their actions today will relate to actual monthly income in retirement. Conversely, if you are lucky enough to be a policeman, a teacher, what have you, and you're in a defined benefit or pension plan, you know, and you can plan accordingly that if I put in X amount of time, my retirement, monthly retirement will be Y. And you can do real financial planning in that manner, okay? With defined contribution plans, it's not always clear to people, but more and more we see tools being offered where you can show participants how their actions today will relate to income replacement, okay? Typically, financial planners will tell you that someone in retirement, Say you retire at 65, on average you'll live another 20 years, and you'll need approximately 50 to 75% of your income in retirement. So these retirement readiness tools actually will show individuals how they're tracking to a meaningful retirement and how their actions today will affect that amount and more readily allow them to retire with a reasonable income. And I think one of the biggest things is with retirement readiness, if you can really educate people, they take much more ownership of their retirement, which is, as I said, is more and more a goal with employers. Any questions on that? I know I gave you a lot to think about. If anyone is an employer out there and you're not doing these things, or you think that your plan should have kind of a higher level of engagement, again, there are tools out there, there's means to really increase participation, retirement readiness, et cetera.
So if anybody does have any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can put them in the chat. Since it is a smaller group, if you do want to just ask your question, you can definitely do that. So I do thank all three panelists for their insight. I was curious about those retirement readiness tools. Would you say that accompanies like the benefits package, or would that be more of like a presentation and encouraging people to opt into something separate?
No, I mean, it would definitely be part of any type of benefits package. But again, if you have a consultant or if you're engaging a record keeper for your plan, one of the things you should look at is, do they offer these types of education? Do they offer these types of tools? Because as I said, it will readily show you, you know, Kate, okay, you're at this age, this is the amount you've saved. It will estimate Social Security if that's applicable, and then it will kind of show you a gap analysis of what you really need to save over the next 10, 15, 20 years in terms of you know, based upon some reasonable return in order to have enough to have adequate retirement savings. I don't know if that answers your question.
It definitely does, and like I'm talking from like a personal perspective. I'm a young professional, but I think the earlier you start saving, the better, and any time is too late. So earlier the better, and I think there's a lot to be learned.
But the great thing about a tool like that, it's really going to show you, where you are in terms of some reasonable retirement, and it will also demonstrate the power of compounding over time. So when you start young, it's great.
Hi, this is Liz McGovern. I just wanted to say, Matt, I think you're right on with retirement. I'm close to that age, and I think I've done some good planning, but it's always good to have other metrics that doesn't put all the weight on you, but people can take ownership. We've been doing a lot of this ourselves, myself and my spouse, and I just think it's really important that we have a very, Kate, it's good to hear you say you want to save, because I know the statistics are not good. Once it went from defined benefit to defined contribution, it's pretty scary how people aren't saving. And we keep hearing that over and over when we talk to folks about what we have. We don't have nearly enough, and we keep being told we're way ahead of everyone else. So I guess that's a good, bad story. But I like the idea of the metrics and people being able to take, ownership. It's kind of like you can scare the poop out of them, but they're doing it to themselves. And then we can realize, oh my gosh, I really do need to start saving more. So anyway, I appreciate everything, Brad. I thought your stuff was great too. And Joe, interesting insurance changes coming. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to add one point. Brad talked about a lot of the things that he does and how really they're not extras for an employer. They really lead to more productivity. An employer that really takes ownership of their retirement plan and really pushes it, it's also in their best interest. I mean, Joe and I will joke, if you're an employer and you think it's expensive to offer a match in your retirement plan, have him move every employee up 10 or 15 years in the bands for the insurance and see what that's going to cost them down the road. When people aren't able to retire or don't have the means to retire, you know, this is still in their best interest. And Liz, thank you for your comments.
Does anybody else have any questions? And definitely feel free. I know in the chat, I believe everyone shared their contact information, and I'll definitely share it with you as well to reach out to any of the panelists. I'm sure they would be happy to answer your questions. I know we covered a lot of different topics, so if you have something specific, feel free to reach out. Again, if any questions, we can take some more. Otherwise, I think this was very informational, and I do appreciate our panelists for being here, and for Jen for helping set this up as well.
And Kate, can I add one thing?
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, if you even are curious to evaluate what you have in terms of your HR services, your healthcare benefits, your retirement benefits, you know, we're happy to review that for you. Just give you some perspective.
So definitely feel free to reach out. And I do thank you for joining us, and hope you all have a great afternoon and your great weekend. So I will follow up and send some additional information. But again, thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Liz, for the questions. And hopefully we get together soon. And if not, this virtual was a nice gathering as well. So have a good one.
Bye.